Hi everyone, this is our lecture on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So let's get started. To get a clinical perspective, let's look at a quick flash case. Let's say a 7-year-old boy is brought to his pediatrician as a follow-up due to bronchitis. The patient is on a number of treatments due to an inherited defect in the CFTR gene. His mother asks, what happens on a cellular level that causes her son's skin to taste so salty when she kisses him? Let's keep this in mind as we go through the lecture. Our learning objectives for this lecture are to recognize the rough endoplasmic reticulum as a site of synthesis and to associate the functions of the rough endoplasmic reticulum with appropriate cell types. Okay, before we get into details, let's get oriented first. Recognize that down here where this green arrow is pointing, that this is the nuclear envelope surrounding the nucleus. So this is closer to the inside of the cell. And where this blue arrow is closer to the top of the slide, and it's pointing to the plasma membrane. So if something is going to get secreted out of the cell, it starts off here at the bottom and goes up. The focus of this lecture is on the area in this box, focused on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum, sometimes abbreviated as RER, is a site of synthesis of secretory or exported proteins, proteins that get sent out of the cell, and N-linked oligosaccharide additions to lysosomal and other proteins. So it has a role in not just synthesis and export, but also modification of proteins. One way to help remember this is that N-linked glycosylation occurs in the endoplasmic reticulum. To go into a little more specifics, Nissl bodies are the functional rough endoplasmic reticulum in neurons. What type of proteins would neurons synthesize and secrete? Yep, neurotransmitters. So the Nissl bodies in neurons synthesize peptide neurotransmitters for secretion. Another component of the rough endoplasmic reticulum are the free ribosomes, which are unattached to membranes but serve as the site of synthesis of cytosolic, peroxisomal, and mitochondrial proteins. Well, now that we've covered that basic information, can you think of any specific types of cells that would be rich in the endoplasmic reticulum, specifically the rough endoplasmic reticulum? You should be thinking of cell types that do a lot of secreting. So they need to synthesize a lot of those substances. Two in particular are the mucus-secreting goblet cells of the small intestine and the antibody-secreting plasma cells. Can you remember which part of the small intestine has the largest number of goblet cells? You're right if you're thinking of the ileum. And just to add to this, whenever you're thinking of proteins within organelles, such as the endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, or lysosomes, recognize that they are formed in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Great, let's do a quick flash quiz. Where are peptide neurotransmitters for secretion synthesized in neurons? Yes, they are synthesized in Nissl bodies, the rough endoplasmic reticulum in neurons. Okay, let's return to this splash case. What condition does this patient have? Yeah, he has cystic fibrosis. If you can recall, the defect in the CFTR gene is commonly due to a deletion that causes a misfolded protein. Because it's misfolded, it can't properly get trafficked or secreted, so that protein gets stuck in the rough endoplasmic reticulum instead of making its way to the cell membrane. This leads to decreased chloride and water secretion, which increases chloride intracellularly, and sodium is reabsorbed. And water follows, so now we have reabsorbed salt and thick mucus. I hope this helps to make cellular biochemistry a little more clinically relevant. Well, we've made it to the end. What's the bottom line? The rough endoplasmic reticulum is the site of synthesis of secretory or exported proteins and N-linked oligosaccharide addition to lysosomal and other proteins. And cells rich in the rough endoplasmic reticulum include the mucus-secreting goblet cells of the small intestine and the antibody-secreting plasma cells. That's all I have for you here. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and it'll give you the opportunity to submit a comment if you have any feedback or questions. Thanks for joining me. Study hard.